Producers XL. Good morning, everybody. It's Scott and Scott from Producers XL, and we got a special guest for you guys today. We got Sam from Symetra, and he's going to go over their product, and he's been a valuable resource to us and quite a guy. So take it away, Sam.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Appreciate everyone hopping on here today, or giving this webinar a quick viewing. Um, as I mentioned, I'm Sam Buescher from Symetra. I also have Wes Matheson on the line or on the call here today as well from Symetra. So the two of us team up to kind of be everything and anything that you need Symetra wise. We're going to cover the SwiftTerm product here today, which is just one of the various products that we have in the portfolio. But this is our SwiftTerm product, which is going to be geared for face amounts of 5 million and under, and ages 20 to 60. A little bit of history though before we dive into it on this product. We've been selling this for a handful of years or so. And this really is an electronic only process, and it is designed to go swift, to go quickly, and putting a little bit of statistics and numbers behind that. Right now, we're running around a 81% of cases that do go fluidless. So we're running, like I said, the vast majority of cases going without an exam, no doctor's records, anything at all like that. So that's kind of the nature behind this. So when you think of Symetra, I want you to think of obviously SwiftTerm. I want you to think, we're looking for quick, easy term cases from an underwriting standpoint. From a pricing standpoint, the product is uber competitive. That's why Producers XL has us on the call here today. It's going to be towards the top, if not at the top of pretty much any case that you do run. And that's a huge calling card as well, right? Because I understand price comes into play here on these things. But just briefly on the product. And then we're actually going to do a little bit of a quick demo on how showing you how easy it is to submit a SwiftTerm product. But as I mentioned, ages 20 to 60, all the way up to 5 million, with the minimum face amount being 100,000. We do have some built-in features on the product. One of them is going to be an accelerated death benefit feature for terminal illness. So in the event the client is terminally ill, 12 months or less to live, they can get access to 75% of the death benefit up to 500,000. That's going to be automatically included. One of the nice features that we do have on the product as well that they can add is a conversion enhancement rider. So it does have some built-in conversion features already. But if you slap on the conversion enhancement rider, it's going to beef up those conversion abilities. And that's from a couple of standpoints. One, access to better conversion products. And then two, the ability to convert for longer periods of time. You're looking at typically around 3% of an increase on the price there when you do add that. So if clients are interested, maybe down the line of getting permanent coverage, then putting the conversion enhancement rider on there is a great idea. Same thing, if you put on the conversion enhancement rider, you're also locking in a client's insurability for life, right? Because if something does happen to them towards the end of the term, from a medical standpoint where they might not qualify for new coverage, but they do have the conversion enhancement rider on there, they're able to convert to a permanent policy. And like I said, lock in that insurability for life as well. So from a nuts and bolts standpoint of the product, it's really simple and easy. That's the majority of it. From a submission standpoint, that's where I would say the process here is going to be really beneficial to you, the agent, and also to the client. It is completely electronic. So you would go on to iPipeline through the Producers XL website. and drop a ticket. Um, what it essentially does is, and we're going to show you here in a minute, is it's going to take about 5 pieces of information from the client that you need to utilize to submit. You will takes about a couple of minutes. You will submit the ticket, and then it will send the client a personal email. So one of those pieces of information you need is their personal email. It will send the client an email where they then at their own convenience. It can be certainly with you there in their office or in your office. But we find more often than not clients, take that personal email and they answer the rest of the application later that night. So it sends them an email. They then go in, they complete the lifestyle and the health questions. So they're answering, their height and their weight, family history, right? Do you drink? Do you smoke? All of those kinds of questions, right? That's going to take the client about 15 minutes to complete on their end. And then once the client does complete that, they sign it, and it's one of three things is going to happen, or eventually one of three things is going to happen. But one thing that could happen right away is that the case is instantly approved. So what I mean by that is the clients then and you going to get an email about 15 minutes later, letting them know, hey, congratulations, you're approved for your coverage. Here's a link for you to go ahead, input your banking information, and place the policy in force. So that can happen instantly. That's no live underwriters looking at it. That's just based upon them answering the questions, us pulling a prescription check and an MVR report or what we pull behind the scenes as well. But you can be instantly approved, or you can go into path two. Path two is what we call light touch or accelerated underwriting. So as I mentioned, we're running 81% of cases. Path two still requires no exam, no blood work, no doctor's records. But a live underwriter is going to take a quick look at it. Just make sure based upon maybe there's the medication. Ozempic's popular, right? Maybe you're taking the client's taking Ozempic. Is it for diabetes or is it for weight loss reasons, right? They might just look at that, clarify, and then make the decision. So with the light touch path, we're looking at 24 to 72 hours. So I mentioned overall, 81% of cases are either going in that first path, which is instant, or in that second path, which is light touch. So that's pretty solid knowing that, 8 and 10 cases that you submit, hopefully, are going to go without any sort of exam or anything, or any doctor's records, anything at all like that. So that's kind of in the nutshell, the quick and easy, process that we do. I think you're going to like it. As the agent, because as I mentioned, it takes a couple of minutes to submit the case. You do have to be pre-appointed at Symetra. So that will be a big thing and a big takeaway, I think, from this call today, is I will challenge all of you out there to get appointed with us. And the reason why we do require pre-appointment is, like I said, cases can be approved in as little as 5 minutes. I have had a success earlier this year, actually, where an agent got appointed with Symetra, wrote a case on himself. It was approved and it went in force all in the same day. Now, not saying that's going to happen every single time, but just letting you know that this process can move quickly. And that's the beauty of it is the fact that, like I said, when the client completes their portion, they're signing it, they're going to get an email potentially in 15 minutes letting them know they're approved, to which then they can go in, put their banking information, and they can physically put their policy, or not physically, but they can put their policy in force. So it's a very simple, easy, streamlined process. Once you are appointed, you don't have to get appointed again, obviously, then you're good to go. So a little bit of upfront work for you, the agent, and that's just simply, getting appointed with us at Symetra. After that, it'll be smooth sailing there for you, and you're going to, have the ability to submit cases, with ease. Scott, is there any questions initially up front that you guys have on anything I may have just mentioned or anything I didn't mention for that matter?
Yeah, Scott, this is Scott Gilpin. I don't have, or Sam, sorry, I don't have any questions per se yet, but I should have probably started with this. So the agents that are on the call that have been working with us, there's a reason why we have Symetra on the line right now. And, a lot of you may think this is a fairly new company with us, and that's not untrue, but the successes that we've had with Symetra, not only on this product, but their indexed UL, we just feel like we've grown to know this company well enough to know that they're a good company to work with. We've had some great successes with the SwiftTerm, and to Sam's point, if you've been doing any business with us in the future or in the past with like Vive and the drop ticket applications, you know that we've been speaking for years and years about accelerated underwriting and the percentages that are that go through accelerated, and we've had to kind of say, unfortunately, those percentages are fairly low through that process. But with Symetra thus far, it has been very successful with going through accelerated, and to Sam's point, 80%, that is huge. That is by far the best carrier percentage that we've worked with our experience. So we are making a big push to get Symetra out there, to let you agents know that they're available. And to Sam's point, yes, the getting pre-appointed is a little bit different, but we do have an accelerated process. So when we send in licensing, I can get with Sam, and we can kind of get a little bit of a rush priority on those because we have business basically pending. So I think, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, within 2 to 3 days is roughly if I email you licensing and say, hey, we need to get this at the top of the list. Is that about right? 2 to 3 days?
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I mean, there's a good chance we can get a number of them done same day. But, I think within a 48-hour, turnaround time is certainly acceptable. Like I said, we aim for same day, and it's not uncommon that happens as well.
Perfect. So that is a little bit different, again, because we've been just-in-time contracting with so many carriers for a lot of years. So that is a little bit different with Symetra, but please understand that, if you have a client that you want to write with Symetra and you want that instant issue capability, if we can convince the client to, hey, I'll call you tomorrow and we can do this tomorrow, or I can call you in 2 days and we can get this done, I guess that's a small price to pay for that to go through accelerated, and not only accelerated, but instant issue. So again, reach out to Scott or Dana or I about getting pre-appointed or getting licensed with Symetra if you feel like you've got a case that you're ready to write, and we will get that ball rolling and we'll get you contracted real quick. Right now, if you're familiar with us, Symetra is not on the Vive portal, but they're on our term quote engine. And there's when you run the quote and you see Symetra, there's an apply button, and that's how you access the application. And by all means, if you guys have any questions about any of this, reach out to Scott Brewer or Scott Gilpin, myself, after the call, and we can walk you through the process. But sorry, Sam, I should have started with, why we're making this push and why we're making a concerted effort to get Symetra out there in the hands of these agents, because this is a very good, not only product, but process. So,
yeah, certainly.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in with that. Go ahead.
All good. Yeah, just to kind of clarify as well, like I said, we've been doing this for quite some time with SwiftTerm. It's certainly not a new product. The process here we've been doing for 5, 6, 7 years now. We've done over 150,000 of these cases during that time as well. So not a small percentage. So like I said, I think we've built this thing and we've got this thing dialed in right now to where it's coming along pretty good. And it's not going anywhere from that standpoint. I will say one last fun fact on SwiftTerm that I always like to share, and then I'm going to turn it over to Wes here. Is actually we've had one of these cases go in force now every single day for the last three or 4 years. So that includes Christmas, New Year's Eve, Easter, Thanksgiving, right? All your holidays. Because that just goes to show you that when you, the agent, drop the ticket, it sends the client an email. They then, at their convenience, go in and answer, the health questions, if you will, right? When someone's instantly approved, they're able to place the policy in force. With all these various walks of life that we have now, you never know when someone's going to answer do their application or complete their application, right? So I think that's a huge, point about this that does make it, advantageous to not only you, the agent, but also the client. Is, like I said, it allows them flexibility to go in and complete the application at their convenience. So number of things that we've discussed. I'm going to turn it over to Wes here, and he's going to do a quick demo for you guys, showing you how easy it is to drop a ticket. And as they mentioned, you can access this through the Producers XL website. So turn it over to you, Wes, and let you show these folks how easy it is to drop a ticket.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen here. So please know that your cases will go a little bit quicker than what I'm going to show you here, because I am in a testing site. So the lag between screens may take me a little bit longer than what it's going to take you. But here's our little demo agent that we put in. So this is the first screen that you're going to see. So we're going to ask for the national producer number. Okay, and we have a link here. If you don't know your national producer number, it'll take you out to the website and find it with your social security number. But this is the first page. So this is all agent validation. So to Sam's point earlier, where you have to be pre-appointed, it will stop you at this screen if you are not appointed with us. So you're going to put in, your information here, your email, your cell phone number. We have some test BGA information in here. But when you get down to the bottom, we can do split agent on these cases. Up to 4 different agents can be added to these. So there's a button here where you can add and validate all the other agents. But we'll actually have you search for your Symetra ID down here at the bottom. So once again, sorry, bear with me here for my loading screens. And by this time, your Symetra ID will have already populated to be able to go. Just with the testing site, it takes us a little bit longer. But while we're waiting on this, if you see at the top of my screen, we do have 2 different term products. One of our term products is more for like the higher face amounts, which is a fully underwritten product. So when you're looking out to get these quotes, you really want to be looking for the SwiftTerm instant issue availability. So instant issue available is what you're looking for. That's going to show you that you're into the right product here. So once the screen loads, you'll click down on this drop down box, and it'll bring up any of your Symetra writing numbers that you have. We have a couple here. Normally it's only going to pop up with 1. And when you click on that, you'll confirm that all the information that you put in at the top is correct. And then you hit confirm. Now, once it validates all of your information, lets you know that you have been pre-appointed and that you're ready to go to write business for the state that you've selected, this is where we're going to go into the client questions. I'm not going to fill in the client questions here because you don't want to hear me clicking each time, but it'll allow us to navigate each screen. So you'll see now here we have 3 different screens that we have to go to. All right, so will the applicant be the owner for this policy? That's your first question. And then we're getting into standard intake questions, right? If you have a standard intake form that you use for your client's information, we have date of birth, social security, gender. This is a very important question. Is the insured a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident? They have to be in order to write this product. So that is an important one there. We can't do like any type of foreign national business with this product. One thing that I like to point out when doing these demos is there is a question on here that is not on a normal client intake form. If your client was born in the United States, it is going to ask what state they were born in. So that's one to keep out for. And I can send out, I have a list of all of the questions that it asks. So I can send that out, and that way you can kind of create your own intake form for SwiftTerm. Just especially if you're having clients, because this is fully digital, If you're doing this just via email or via Zoom, like we're doing now, I can send you out all the information that you need to take down your client information so you can do this drop ticket at a later time if needed. Email. This is very important to what Sam said earlier. Everything that we send to the client after the drop ticket is done is sent via email. So double check that this email is correct because we cannot change it after the fact. So once the drop ticket is completed, if the email or social security or date of birth are incorrect, a new drop ticket would be needed. So just double check those. So address, typical in here. And as you start typing in an address too, it actually has a search screen through that. So as you start typing in an address, you may be able to just click into the address that is there. I'm going to go back up to the top slowly here so I don't make anyone dizzy. If the applicant is going to be the owner, so insured, same as owner, you do not need to put in the beneficiary information. You could see it was there earlier and it just disappeared. But if it is an owner other than insured, you will need the beneficiary information to plug that in for them. The next page is just the coverage information. So what you've discussed with the client, you've ran them the quote. We're going to do 500,000 for 20 years. This is where you would add in your riders with our accidental death benefit, waiver of premium. This is the rider that Sam spoke to earlier. The conversion enhancement rider really opens up the possibility for conversion. But this whole page is just about the life insurance policy that we're writing here. So payment frequency, replacement information. So you will need to know if this is replacing anything. And then how much life insurance do you currently have? This is individual life insurance. So this is not through an employer. This is not through, if your company holds a $100,000 life insurance policy for you, you do not have to list that here. So you actually have to type in the 0 for this screen. I've had people get stuck on this and not be able to move on because it already says 0, but you do have to type something in there. Okay, so second page is just new policy information and then existing policy information with replacement questions. The third screen is just two different questions here. So how long have you known the insured applicant and in what capacity? Okay, so if you've known them a week because they came to you for life insurance, put a week. And are you an agent? Is it a spouse, domestic partner? All of these other different options here will need an answer here. And then how are they paying for this? What are they using their current income, savings, or other? And once you're done with those questions, these are just your acknowledgments and authorizations. So these are all the disclosures that allow for when the client finishes their application. This is basically you pre-signing the application once they have completed theirs. So if you complete these disclosures, and then once everything is, you don't have a bunch of red exclamation points because you're actually filling in the application rather than what we were just doing here, you would hit I agree and submit, and you were done. As the agent writing this case, you're done. The email goes out to the client, and as the client starts filling in their information, we start our underwriting process. And to Sam's point, they'll have three options to complete it. They'll either get that instant issue, congratulations, you've been approved, pay your premium now, and coverage will go in force. Option 2 would be that accelerated underwriting that we talked about. And then in the event that the client does require full underwriting, once they get to the end of the application, we will actually assist them in scheduling their exam. We will order an APS if an APS is required. We handle all of that information here at Symetra in-house. So it's very easy, not only for the agent who's dropping the ticket. You can see even with our crazy loading screens, this will take anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes. And then once the client gets theirs, it's going to take them anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. So it's a very easy process. Guys, any questions on the drop ticket?
I'll jump in here real quick. You just answered one of the things that I was going to point out, Wes, and that is the process is seamless to the agent and the client if the client doesn't fit for instant issue or accelerated. It just flows, right? So if instant issue isn't available, it goes into light touch. If it's not light touch, it goes into full underwriting. But the beautiful part is, and again, we've had some negative experiences with some other carriers in the past that have, if it doesn't fit accelerated, you had to like stop, close, and reapply to do full underwriting, and that's just an absolute nightmare. So I really appreciate the fact that process is seamless. It just goes. So thank you for pointing that out. The other thing is, and agents will ask, and I know the answer, but go ahead and tell everybody on the call, when sometimes on these drop ticket electronic applications, whatever you want to call it, some people will say, well, if the normal process is that the carrier will email the client, is it possible that they can do a phone call? And again, it's vice versa. If they do a phone call, they'll ask if we can do email. So on your process, it's an email. That's the normal procedure. Can you deviate from that and do a phone call with the client, or is it strictly email?
Yeah, so for our product, it is strictly email. We don't have any tele-interview capabilities on this. Now,
Good.
that's not to say that the client may not get a phone call, because one of the benefits of this product is that our case managers on these SwiftTerm cases are actually the underwriters who are underwriting the case. So if it goes to that accelerated light touch, right? And it could be for a small reason, like there was a prescription in the prescription check that didn't get brought up during the application. So our underwriter will actually pick up the phone, call the client and say, hey, we got your SwiftTerm application. I just had a question on this prescription. And, it could be, oh, I had a sinus infection 2 months ago and I took a antibiotic to get rid of it. I totally forgot about it. And then we move on, right? There's no long form telephone interview with the SwiftTerm product.
Perfect. And that's a fine answer. In fact, I kind of like it just because there's no hem-hawing back and forth. It is what it is. So I just want to be able to educate agents on that point. And if you're listening, obviously, if email doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But most people these days, if you're submitting an electronic application in the first place as the agent, you're somewhat committing to an electronic process. And I think everybody understands that. So that's completely fine. And then the last thing is, and I'm kind of going back a little bit to what Sam brought up earlier, can you just guys reiterate real quick, in case anybody missed it, the conversion enhancement rider? Can you explain that real quick one more time?
Yeah, so the conversion enhancement rider, it essentially it allows them access to two things. So the way it works is it allows conversion up to 20 years if you put the conversion enhancement. So the base SwiftTerm has conversion for 10 years. This allows them the ability to convert up to 20 years. So on a 10-year, you get the full 10 years, 15-year, full 15, 20, full 20, 30-year, you get 20 years of conversion options. Those first 10 years, though, you actually get access to our full product suite, our full product portfolio, which we are also very competitive on the IUL space. So it allows them the ability to convert to one of those IULs, if they would like. The second 10 years, they can still convert, as I mentioned. We do have a conversion product out there that they will have the ability to convert to, for those second 10 years. So it just beefs up the ability, like I said, to convert a little bit longer, and then also you get access to the good products, in the first 10 years of conversion as well. So I know that's a very popular, thing, and a lot of agents, do try and sell conversion or the ability to convert down the line. So putting the conversion enhancement rider on there, typically, as I mentioned, 3-4%, does allow the client to lock in that ability to convert to for a longer period of time.
Perfect. And I would imagine that is the most widely accepted or put on rider that, on this. How would you say, what percentage of SwiftTerm do agents put that rider on? Sam, do you have any idea?
I don't, off the top of my head, I would say you're probably looking at, 20-30%, maybe a third of cases that I would say, have a conversion enhancement rider, but that's something I could certainly, find out for you.
No, you don't need to do that. I was just curious on all of your SwiftTerm products, how often those riders were added, because it is becoming kind of a thing. And we do have some other carriers that have something similar where you can, for a small premium increase, you can add more robust conversion privileges. But yeah, we don't need to get into the weeds on that. If you guys have any questions, you can certainly reach out to Scott and I, and we'll work with you to get those answers. But yeah, I just wanted to cover that real quick.
One other thing I will add, when it comes to the agent dropping the ticket, we keep it open for 30 days for the client to go in and answer, via email, answer the health and lifestyle questions. So the agent drops the ticket today. They've got until, April 26th, of next month, or the 26th of next month, right, to answer the questions. We also do send periodic emails to the client, advising them that, hey, you still need to do this. So, we're also going to take that off your plate a little bit, as well as, and, kind of mark it out to the client and let them know, like, hey, you still need to finish your, Symetra application. So, you get a 30-day window. After 30 days, if they don't do it and they still want the coverage, you would have to go in and drop the ticket again. But there's no, downside to doing that. We don't look at that adversely or anything like that. So that is also, that does happen. We understand that, where the agent misses, or the client misses the window, and then the agent has to, drop a ticket again. So just letting you know that that's also an option out there as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I
don't know about you,
Scotty.
Scott, but I get a lot of calls from agents asking, how do you respond on these ethos and selected quote instant issue offers that I see on TV? And this is it right here, guys. This is the tool for your arsenal, and it's the same instant issue and quite a high rate from what I'm hearing. So you have that, reach out to us, get contracted so you can have that ready, and we can go from there. Hey, out of curiosity, how long do you keep contracts open that you have to have business submitted before you'd have to get recontracted again?
I think it's at least, a year or two.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah, it's like you said, it's not like you got like 30 days from getting contracted to drop a ticket with us as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think it's at least a year that we keep contracts open before, an agent may go dormant with us.
Okay.
But I'll double check on that actually and get back to you guys, because now you're piquing my curiosity there. But yeah, it's a substantial amount of time, or a window that they have.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to know because if any of you guys want to get going, go ahead and get contracted. You'll be ready to write a case right then and hopefully get it issued real fast for those clients that fit that. So,
Well, and one other thing to mention here is the beautiful part about this whole thing is you're not giving up anything, because, on any given day, if you run a term quote on our website, Symetra's there, and they're not 5, 6, 8, 10 on the list. They're in the top. They're near the top, at the top, right in the thick of it. So you're not giving up anything by going through a pretty common sense, quick process. And I do give kudos to carriers these days that make the process easy and kind of a common sense approach, because there are some of the processes that we work with I wouldn't put in that category, that are a little bit more of a pain to deal with. But this is a nice, seamless, quick process. And the cases that we've submitted through this process have been wildly successful in regards to, to fluidless underwriting and all that. And like I said, worst case scenario, your client maybe has some health history and they don't qualify, and then they go into full underwriting. They can still get a good rate. They can still get approved and issued and all of those good things. It just might, like I said, take a tiny bit longer. So, yeah, we just wanted to Scotty and I wanted to get the word out to all of our agents, because everyone is a little weirded out with new carriers and processes, and I get it. Trust me, we fall into these routines, and adding a new company, getting new contracting, and starting a new process can be a little bit hairy, but I can tell you guys, this is one that you definitely want to get licensed so you can have Symetra in your arsenal for sure.
Yep.
So
Cool.
with that, like I said, unless there's any other questions, or Sam or Wes, if you guys have anything else to say, this is what we wanted to cover. We appreciate you guys being on the call today. Like I said, unless you have anything else to add, I would say just thank you for going through this with us today and our agents.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think we're all good. We appreciate you putting it together, and hopefully we can get a couple of these cases rolling here soon.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Wes. And again, if you guys have any questions, want to get contracted, reach out to Scott and I, and we'll be happy to help you.
Definitely.
So thank you. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.